Hello and welcome back to the Love Pod. Today we are talking to Jeramey Litinsky from season 6 of Love is Blind. Yes, that Jeramey. We asked him a whole bunch of questions about his experience in the pods and beyond, and he took a lot of your fan questions, no holds barred. So tune in for that, and we are excited to tell you after the interview what else we have going on. All right, on to the show. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Love Pod. I am Dina, and we have a very special episode today. Mr. Jeramey Litinsky from Love is Blind Season 6. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me.
We're happy to have you. And I have to say, this is probably the most controversial interview that we've had so far. So thank you for stepping into the hot seat.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's start. Normally we save this for later, but because there's so many questions for you from the fans, we are going to start with a little bit of an Instagram deep dive. So for anybody who hasn't done this before, if you've seen the show Hot Ones, they pull up Instagram TikToks with no further explanation and just ask for your feedback on what's going on in this picture or clip.
Okay.
So we are going to start with this very first one when Jordan is ready. Here we go.
So, I mean, so this was actually, I think this was just a couple of weeks after we had wrapped up filming.
Okay.
And we're not supposed to be posting anything together or anything like that, and unintentionally had a couple of drinks down in Ybor City in Tampa one night, and that ended up slipping in there. Had to take it back down pretty quickly, but it was kind of funny to be able to repost it later on because it was still saved.
Did anybody catch on to that?
We got a couple of emails from casting about it. So yeah, that came down pretty quick after that.
Okay. Of all the spoilers this season, I'm surprised that they were on it so quick because it seems maybe intentional what they're letting leak and what they're not.
Yeah, this was definitely an oops, like just not. You got to think we're not used to having to hide like relationships and things like that. And like, again, we're a couple of drinks in at a country bar, just singing, having a good time, and wake up the next morning like, oops, like that wasn't supposed to happen.
Okay, yeah. What do we have next, Jordan? What was going through your mind as you entered the living space for the first time?
Oh man, so I remember leading up to the show itself, I was not nervous at all. Like, I'm talking nerves of steel the whole time. I was great. The day that those cameras came on, I think this was day 2 at this point, because the first day you have to do like our pictures and kind of just getting acclimated.
Sure.
As soon as those cameras came on and we started recording and then speeches and stuff started coming out, I mean, my heart rate was 160 at that point. Like I thought I was going to pass out. It was intense from that moment on.
Were the speeches from cast or were they from like Nick and Vanessa?
No, so the first day, the creator of the show, Chris, he comes in and talks to us a little bit and gives us a whole like idea of what's going to happen, what what everything's about, and kind of just he relates kind of personal life experiences to how he wants things to operate on the show, which is pretty cool. But fortunately, we had a couple of guys from this season, Vince, Jamal, I might be missing a couple of guys that were all really good with speaking. So everybody always had some sort of speech to give at some point.
Sure. All right. Hey, whatever motivates you.
Yeah.
Okay. What's up next, Jordan?
So this was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. I went on a bachelor trip with a group of friends, and we raced we flew into Vegas, stayed there one night, ended up driving or getting picked up, went to, I think it was Arizona.
Hey, that's where I live.
Yeah, so we started off in Arizona, went through Utah, and I think we raced over a 4 or 5 day period. And we each had our own individual UTVs, which you can kind of see there. We raced like 400 or 500 miles through the mountains, up through. I don't think we went to Zion. I definitely know we went to Bryce Canyon, all that stuff. But everything was completely off grid. We did nothing but sleep in tents every night. We had We had our phones taken away. It's a really cool trip that you do. And we literally just lived off of like camp food, camp chefs, slept or outdoors. We didn't, I hate to say it, but we had like no showers for like 4 or 5 days. So we were beat up by the time we got back. It was an awesome trip, but like, that's one you got to be prepared for.
Sure. Are you, oh, that was Jordan. I'm looking at the comments thinking there's a question and it's Jordan saying hi. Hi, Jordan. So were you?
Actually, what's funny is that this shirt I got from that trip. I didn't realize that till just.
Okay, we can only see from like here up.
Oh, gotcha. My shirt says "Wilderness makes everything better," so it's
okay.
From there.
Were there checkpoints, or do you just go the whole way straight through?
No, so we had kind of like GPS checkpoints on where we knew we would stop off at some point. So we had like a guide that would take us to where we were going. But when you think of like a guided trip, you're thinking like a nice, calm, relaxing, like, oh, we're going to go here. Mm-hmm. No, we were ripping around through the mountains doing, 50 to 70 miles an hour at some point, drifting sideways, sliding all over the place. Like it was really cool. But we would drive probably 8 to 9 hours a day. And then we would just stop, sleep, get up at the crack of dawn the next morning and just hit the road again.
That sounds like my nightmare, but that's okay. If you have fun.
Oh, it was amazing.
All right, Jordan, what have we got next? Okay, now this isn't your picture. This is actually Sarah Ann from quite a few years ago, but in what looks like a wedding dress. So,
yeah, I've honestly never seen that picture before.
We snooped some Instagram pictures from a couple of different cast members.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, she looks great in that picture. I mean, I know she's never been married or engaged before, so that's I got to ask her what that one's from. That one's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to her next week too, so we're going to pop that in there. Yeah. All right, what have we got next, Jordan? Hey, it's Clay.
All right, so this was funny because Clay owns his own jet ski company, right? Mm-hmm. And I've got my own. I'm riding my own jet ski at that point, and I actually do my own jet ski stuff on the side as well. Like I just don't really advertise for it. Mm-hmm. And all we were doing here was I had just fixed mine, put a brand new impeller and everything on the jet ski, and I was like, "Hey, let's go take them out so we can make sure they're ready for the season." The way everybody took this was, "Oh, you guys are giving jabs because of the jet ski stuff on the show." I mean, it was in TMZ the next day, like Cosmopolitan, and I'm like. Man, we're just out riding jet skis, like just minding our own business.
Yeah. So jet skiing isn't a new thing to you. It's something that you've been doing for a long time.
I'm originally from South Florida, and it's like a natural born birthright to have a jet ski. So I've been doing it like my whole life.
Fair enough. And then I think last but not least. So it looks like a workout challenge that you did for Love is Blind.
Yeah. So obviously leading up to the show, I definitely had some, built up anxiety and things like that. And I wanted to get away to just like, all right, walking into this, I want to eat right, work out early every morning, just kind of make sure I'm taking care of myself every day. Cause, didn't really know how things would go as the show was coming out. And, thought like, if I'm wanting to do this, there might be some other people interested in getting involved. And I did have quite a few people reach out to me about it. And I sent each one of them their own individual like plan on what to do.
Nice.
How to do it. Yeah, and I'm by no means a personal trainer, like licensed. I know enough about nutrition. I know enough about, certain workouts to where I can take care of myself. And hey, if anybody else wanted to join, I was happy to help them.
Awesome. I've never seen something like that before, so I wanted to make sure we got that in there.
Yeah. No, just if there was a platform to try to help somebody with a couple of things and, keep them motivated to do it, I was all for it.
Awesome. Now we are going to get straight into the fan questions because there were a lot of them. We'll get to as many as we can today, guys. If you have questions or comments that you want to pop in there, we are monitoring behind the scenes with Jordan on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, wherever you're watching. So feel free to leave a comment on this live and we will get to as many as we can. Disclaimer, please be kind. Everybody signed up to be on this show, not to have bullying and personal attacks. So we are not going to come at Jeramey like that today.
Give it more time.
Our first question is from one of our most dedicated, I think she might be or they might be a journalist. I don't know if it's a who it is, but
Okay.
always submitting great questions. How are you feeling about the level of infamy you got from the show?
I'll be honest, I don't really care all that
Okay.
much. And my reason being is I'm not an influencer. I am not someone that was looking to like switch careers and do this. Like, yeah, does getting an edit like that kind of suck? Sure, but at the end of the day, like there's my real life that's going on, and then there's the social media persona at this point, and it's just two different things. So it really doesn't bother me.
How much do you feel they align or mesh, or are they completely different?
As far as like my real life and social
Mhm.
media presence,
Yes.
so I really don't do a whole lot on social media, but I'll say as far as like alignment of my like how I'm presented on that show versus
Mhm.
who I am in real life. Watching everything back, I could see how like over the top I was, like energy wise and all of that, like on the show,
Mhm.
which is fairly opposite from me in real life. My normal day to day life, like I literally just go to work, work out, eat right. I don't really drink. Uh, I try to lay low for the most part. I don't really get involved in too many other people's business. Like I'm pretty just I, I don't know. I just keep to myself. So I,
Sure.
in some ways, I think you get to see a glimpse of it, but I definitely think it was over dramatized in a lot of ways.
Well, reality TV, that's not
Yeah.
too surprising.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed on your Instagram when we were doing our little deep dive, you don't
Mhm.
have a ton of content on there. So you just not post often, or was there a little cleaning up there pre-show?
No, I mean I cleaned up a little bit, but it's more of like it was a lot of workout stuff in the past. It was more outdoorsy stuff, just things like that. And I think even in my archives, if I was to open everything back up, I might have 30 pictures.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
just
Fair
don't use
enough.
it all that often. And pre, going on the show, I think I had like 300 followers. So it's not like I ever
Yeah.
really used it anyways.
So as much of a villain edit as you got, or
Mhm.
that everybody feels that you are,
Yeah.
um, you really have a lot of followers. Like it looks like your social media has grown. So as much hate as you get it, there are people who are along for the journey, which I think is really
Yeah.
interesting. And other people that I know are along for your journey, speaking of, are your castmates. So
Mhm.
what kind of relationship do you have with them?
So I mean I don't speak to any of the women. I think it's kind of just out there at this point that after what happened between Sarah and I, she didn't speak to
Mhm.
anybody. I wasn't going to speak to anybody after that. As far as the guys go, I mean I don't. I speak to almost everybody there. Some of them I don't see as much, but I was really close with Vince. Was pretty good with Trevor. Obviously, you see me and Clay out jet skiing and stuff. And
Yes.
I don't hold anything against any of the guys, and we kind of just see each other when we see each other at this point.
Did you know anybody beforehand that you were surprised to see once you got to the pods?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
So I'm not originally from Charlotte. I've been here about 10 years now. So yeah, it's been a
Okay.
good chunk of time. But again, I'm not really someone that goes out a whole lot and parties and hits up the town very often. So it's not like I would ever really cross paths with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a fun one.
Okay.
Why is your name spelled like that? And that is from KKoy1723.
All right. So I obviously didn't have a whole lot of involvement in that because I've had so many people ask me, why did you
Yeah.
spell your name that? And I'm like, I didn't do that, but
I was
okay,
a
that's fine.
baby.
So there is I don't know the story behind it. I know it had something to do with one of my grandfathers. Just
Okay.
it was something along those lines. But there was a story I told people for like 20 years. And I thought it was a true story. And I found out way later on that my mom was just kidding. And I had just been telling the wrong story to people. So when I was born, I was a C-section. So I wasn't like a normal, I guess we'll call it natural birth at that point.
Yeah.
Um, my mom had told me as a joke that when I was first born, they asked her what my name was, and because she was under anesthesia and things like that, she phonetically sounded my name out,
Okay.
and I believed that. Just to find out, like I said, like 20 years later, she heard me tell one of my friends that. She's like, "Wait, you're actually telling people that?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I was kidding, and I can't believe you still remembered that." So long story short, I think it came from one of my grandfathers, but
Okay.
yeah, my mom and I joke about it all the time.
That does happen though. I've heard true stories of women just being so out of it after childbirth, understandably, or
Yeah.
under, some kind of sedation or drugs, where they spelled something wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't correct them with an obvious mistake. And so I could see that being plausible.
And I mean, so could I. That's why I never questioned it. It
Mhm.
just to find out, like I said, 2 decades later, she's like, I can't believe you've been telling people that this whole time.
Yeah. And we have a couple of questions about your mom too, but
Okay.
first, Sarah LR 1985 wants to know, we have a fun one. Do you like to read? If so, do you have any books that you'd recommend?
I do actually like to read. I've got a couple of them sitting over here. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, Jeramey gets that. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to submit them on our YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. Wow.
I got a whole little stack right here that I've
All
been
right.
going through. So I do like kind of I guess more introspective motivational stuff. So a good one here is The Traveler's Gift. Anytime you're ever going through a difficult time, that's a good one. I'm a big Jocko Willink guy, just kind of coming from the workout background, so extreme ownership. And then I've been really into Ernest Hemingway lately. So I just reread For Whom the Bell Tolls for like the second or third time now, just because you can never go wrong with that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopping back into our fan questions from Reddit. Why did you choose Laura in the pods over Sarah Ann? And that is from Brown Eyed Girl 1167.
Okay. Um, so in my normal day-to-day life, even though I couldn't see Sarah Ann, the interactions that she and I had and how like bubbly she was and like the fun stuff we were talking about, she was definitely someone I knew that I would go for in my normal day-to-day life based off of just compatibility stuff. Now, Laura and I, we talked a little bit more in depth about like finances, house, work, things like that. And it's
Sure.
not that Sarah and I didn't, there just seemed to be way more emphasis on that with Laura and I. And she isn't personality wise who I would typically go for. But because I'm going through a whole new experience, I'm trying to push myself past my boundaries. I knew I had a good connection with both of them, but I wanted to push myself in the area where I knew I would be more uncomfortable to try something different.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how that turned out, but at least that's what I was going for.
Okay. Do you think fan opinions are justified? Why or why not? From Brad F. Go 41.
It's a tough one. So I think based off of how I was, shown, I can see the validity in a lot of it. What I can also say though is like, again, in my normal day to day, like personal life, I'm not this person that I'm depicted as being like on
Mm.
TV. So I'm good with people how good I am good with how people perceive me one way or the other. It's fine. But I can understand why I come across the way I do.
Okay. What are some things the fan base might not know about you that would change their opinions?
Um, I I hear a lot of he lacks accountability. He lacks, being able to apologize about things. He lacks about a lot of those things. And I I again I understand where that comes from. It's especially how I'm portrayed on that show, but I am someone that like I am constantly critiquing myself. I am constantly looking into things. I do actively go to therapy to constantly work on myself with certain things. I read a lot of books. I push myself mentally and physically in a lot of ways, whether it's, doing endurance races or working out or just, trying to help other people. None of that comes across. And I at first I got frustrated with the whole lacking accountability thing. There's a difference between me not lacking accountability and me just not wanting to feed into the things that are constantly coming up over and over again online. Like at a certain point, we got to move on.
Yeah. How bad are the comments and DMs that you're getting? Are they extreme?
Oh, I mean, so I don't know if you saw this one the other night. I did kind of put somebody on blast, just because I had enough. Um, I've I've gotten a lot more support than I think people would realize. A lot of people understanding and just kind of get that it's a show, like fine. There has been a few people to where it's like repeated death threats. We're talking, hope you get hit by a car. Somebody said something along the lines of like, if you're ever at a house party, I hope you get locked in the bathroom while the house is on fire.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's just things like that. And when this all first happened, my natural instinct was to want to defend myself. And now I'm just like, man, like if you really feel that way, that's horrible to feel like that about anybody, especially somebody you saw on TV. But
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of called a couple of people out,
I've seen that. Yes.
and whether it's publicly or just to them one on one of the responses you get is, "Oh my God, I never expected somebody to actually read this. I'm so sorry." So then why ever send it?
Why send it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just is what it is. It doesn't bother me.
I will say, it's good that you take it with a sense of humor, but it's crazy to me. You guys aren't criminals. You're not murderers. You didn't, I don't know, kick puppies. These are real life situations that people deal with every day. So going to those extremes, just I cannot, as deep as we are into the Love is Blind fan base, I cannot fathom being that, I don't want to say obsessed, but that involved with somebody else's personal life that you've never met,
Yeah.
that you guys are getting those messages. And I know Trevor's got them too. Sarah Ann's got them. So
Yeah.
everybody, we like to say lead with love, please
Yeah.
choose kindness. And even if they have their opinions of you.
Yeah. And I will give credit where credit is due. The Love is Blind team who puts all of this together, they know how to get people involved. They know the cues and they know the personal experiences that people have, and they do a very good job with that. So I can get where people's emotions come from on it. I can get where the investment comes from on it. It's just sometimes it pushes a little bit too far between, blurring the line.
What do you mean by get involved? Is it kind of fanning the flames?
So I think what I mean by that is, are you talking about like how
The
love is
production team. Yeah. Yeah.
no, so they don't necessarily really fan the flames, but they are very deep into kind of personal cues or societal cues that are going on. So,
Okay.
if you start talking about politics, that's going to be something that is always going to be a hot button topic. If you're talking
Hmm.
about, interpersonal relationship issues, that's always going to be a hot button topic. So, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that they're just very good at relating to what is going on in the real world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, how is the relationship between your mom and Sarah Ann? That one is from VCQIQ.
It's good. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it's been a year. I don't live particularly close to my mom, so I don't get to see her as often as I'd like to. Actually, going to see her this weekend for Easter though, and no, everything's good as it can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel called out by her in that conversation when you were telling her about the kind of love triangle dynamics?
N- no, only because like my mom and I have a very direct like relationship with each other. Like when she's like, "I would have been waiting for you on the front porch," type of thing. I absolutely would expect my mom to say something like that to me. And
Okay.
there's definitely lots of that conversation that is kind of chopped and cut up. But ultimately, I'm actually glad that that part made it in because I'm like,
Okay.
hey, you know what? Put me on the spot. I'm glad that you got viewed that way. She's like, oh my God, I don't want people to think that I don't like you and like you're still my son. And I'm like, Mom, it's okay. Like it
Yeah, it's
really doesn't
fine.
bother me.
Somebody actually requested that we interview your mom. Would she be up for that?
I'd have to ask her. I can
Okay.
almost guarantee no.
Okay,
She is someone
understandable.
that keeps well to herself.
It's hard enough to get the families and friends to sign on to be a part of the experience on camera, so I totally understand that.
Yeah, she was a nervous wreck walking into that, and you got to think at that point in filming, we're 4 or 5 weeks into it, so you kind of just get used to the routine. She was not prepared for any of that day.
Okay. How did she and your other family and friends feel about you going on the show and potentially getting married?
Um, they weren't shocked. They 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 they
Okay.
They weren't shocked. I've always been someone like that's just kind of done things maybe not in the most orthodox ways. Like I don't always follow a straight path in some situations. I kind of find the hard way around stuff sometimes, and it's just who I am as a person. So when I told them about that, they were like, "Yeah, that lines up. That's on brand."
I've noticed you, not that in the religious context, but you mentioned being Orthodox. This is the first season I've really seen where at least the promo quotes and teasers have
Yeah,
had a pretty good focus on religion. I know that's probably part it being filmed in Charlotte, but were
yeah.
there other topics you felt like were a real focus for the majority of the cast members when having the conversations?
I mean, religion was definitely a big one. We're in the Bible Belt in this area.
Mhm.
Charlotte's unique because we're in the Bible Belt, but Charlotte's such a big melting pot of people that it's still not that way. But if you go like 30 minutes outside of Charlotte, it's like that everywhere. I think finances were a huge discussion
Okay.
with a lot of people, and in this part of the country, being in Charlotte, I didn't know this till I moved here. I think we're the second largest banking district in the United
Oh,
States behind New
all right.
York. So like it's a lot of a lot of banking, a lot of financial institutions, financial advisors, things like that. So financing and all that stuff is always kind of like, as much as it shouldn't be, it's kind of a big topic here. Got to make sure you're holding your own financially.
Well, and relationships that serious, engaged, potentially marriage are a bit of a business transaction. You're signing legal paperwork. It is important to know finances. We don't really see those discussions. We saw it with Izzy and Stacy a little bit the prior season.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that you guys talk about it because it's such an important thing. And we never see these really big, important decisions.
Yeah.
They're not the best TV, but it's good to know you're discussing that.
Yeah, we're talking about finances and personal life and how we want families to be, and then what makes it on there is me talking about robot vacuum cleaners.
Which are amazing, by the way. I just got my first one. It is life-changing.
They are, I'm telling you.
Are you happy? And that one comes from OK Set 9357.
You know what? I'm as happy as I can be in life. I view myself as someone that'll never be 100% happy with anything, as good or bad as that might be. I'm always pushing for the next thing. I'm always looking for something to work on, and I feel like if I'm ever truly 100% happy, I'm not doing enough. I need to be pushing in other things.
Okay. What were your initial thoughts on the DM from Sarah Ann from Anti-Shocked 345?
So I I remember exactly what happened, what I was doing. So we were filming at the townhouse. Laura was inside filming. We do like these I can't remember what they're called. Like on-site interviews basically, to where like um sorry, my phone
She
just
was busy. You're good.
yeah. No, so she was filming like an on-site interview and all that. So I was sitting outside and I got the message from Sarah. I saw it. I liked it, just like acknowledging it, like, hey, got it, thanks, appreciate it. And
Mhm.
then later that night, once I went back in and she was done filming, I just went in and showed it to her, and it was kind of done and over with at that point. Like I
Okay.
didn't think too much into it.
Do you feel done and over with, like your relationship with Laura was done and over with, or you thought it wouldn't be an issue?
I didn't think the message would be an issue at
Okay.
that point and anything, because we weren't getting along necessarily with a lot of things, but we also weren't like at the breaking point. I didn't feel at that point.
Did you feel like you guys were interacting enough in a natural setting where the cameras weren't intrusive or you weren't pulled for interviews that you could be ready for marriage at the end of that if things didn't play out the way they did?
No, I
Okay.
don't, and I had concerns pretty early on with all of that. There there was definitely conversation, or there was what is it, conversation styles between Laura and I were really just lacking in a lot of ways. I did try bringing up a couple of times, like, hey, I've got my feelings towards this or that. And there was even a couple of times to where she had gone and stayed at her own place. Either
Mhm.
she was going there for work, or, maybe she just was uncomfortable. Like, that's fine. But I knew that we're leading up to possibly getting married in like 2 to 3 weeks. And every day that we lost out on being together doing things was just adding more pressure to it. And it just kind of continued to compile from there.
Sure. Was there anybody you were surprised, whether it be Laura or Sarah Ann or any of your fellow castmates, that were so different from how they depicted themselves in the pods or in your pre-meeting interactions?
No, I mean, okay, I don't mean to say this in a rude way, but the one person I was a little more surprised by was Laura. I thought she was going to be a little more lighthearted
Okay.
than she was. Again, that's her personality. That's fine. But yeah, I think I wasn't really focused on too many other people.
Okay. Did you guys, other than the lake party, have a lot of interactions that we didn't see?
Who for who?
All the cast. Not necessarily the main cast, but there's what, 30 of you guys
Yeah.
who ultimately date and everything. Were there other get-togethers? Were you able to keep in touch when you got back to Charlotte?
So we were able to see each other a few times, outside the lake day. The lake day was kind of like the big get together for all of us to do that
Mhm.
again. But I mean, really, once we got back, you're working during the day. I was working from like 8 a.m. to 5 or 6 most days, and then you're filming from like 6 to 9 at the end of the day. So it makes it a long day, and you didn't get a whole lot of chance to see other people at that point because if you weren't filming, you were exhausted. You were just trying to sleep at some point.
Sure. Was there any surprises as to who was going to be at the lake party? It looked like from the edit, maybe you were surprised that Laura actually showed up or vice versa. Did you guys kind of know who was going to be there?
So that is actually what I'll tie this together.
Okay.
That lake day is the conversation that Sarah Ann and I had till late into the morning. So I
Okay.
knew that something was coming up. I didn't know it was this lake day thing. I found out that Sarah was going to be there, and I didn't know that. And we're supposed to meet for the first time at that point. So if I was actually surprised by anybody being there, it was Sarah. I knew that
Okay.
Laura and I were going to be there because that was kind of planned to
Sure.
happen. But that's what really threw a wrench into a lot of things is once I found out Sarah was there, we're going to meet for the first time. And I was kind of so done with filming at that point that I was like, you know what? I don't want anything else to be aired out at this point. We're going to sit and squash this and just handle it and be done with it.
So timeline wise, was it you guys met up for the first time at Lost and Found and then lake party and then you and Laura having the conversation in the apartment?
No. So it is Sarah and I meet at
Mhm.
Lost and Found. The very next morning, I tell Laura what happens. We get into that
Mhm.
argument. And then
Okay.
the lake day comes, I think it was like a week after that.
Oh, okay. So there
Yeah.
was a little bit of time in between. I thought
Yeah.
maybe there was an editing trick in there that we didn't know about.
No, there was definitely some time in between, and there's a whole nother scene that isn't in there to where like so there's the argument between Laura and I, and we're not really speaking. We actually went and filmed a dinner together to kind of try to
Okay.
break the ice a little bit. Well, things kind of just continued to deteriorate from there, and after that, and that's where a lot of people got confused. I think by the way it was displayed, where Laura's like, "Well, you and I haven't spoke for 3 days," and they're thinking that that's after that argument between she and I. No, that
Mhm.
was after the dinner that wasn't filmed. So there was actually a
Okay.
longer period of time in between that.
And then we have, dare I say, bestie of the show, Chris Fox from season 5 had a question for you. He
Okay,
wants to know, did the experiment change you? And if so, how?
Chris, that's a good question. He's helped me through a lot going through a lot of this stuff.
Oh,
So yeah, it's hard to like really you think you can self-analyze and you think that you know yourself really well. It's really interesting to see yourself in the third person and seeing kind of your quirks and traits and things like that, just along with everybody else seeing it. And there was definitely some things I needed to learn about myself. I needed to get back into therapy. I needed to learn how to kind of like slow myself down in some cases. I needed to learn to I come across very cold a lot of times, and it's not because I don't care about other people's emotions. It's because I always try to take a step back and remove emotions from things so I can think about what the problem is and how do I directly solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I learned from that is, even though I come across that way, I still need to take other people's feelings and emotions into account because I need to be able to better relate to things like that.
Would you say, emotion wise, we saw the meet and greet with Laura's family and you. Was that something that Laura was obviously pretty critical of everything going on between you and Sarah and the Hawaiian shirts and just some things in general? Was that something that naturally came up? Was that something that maybe was steered in a certain direction by production?
No, that just came out of nowhere.
Okay.
Because I think at one point you'll even hear me say, like, oh, are we really going to do this right now? Like, are we going to really talk about this right now? Because I was caught off guard. Like, okay, I didn't want to talk about it.
And why the sunglasses indoors?
All right. So I got home obviously super late. So that was the morning of the argument. I got home super late that morning. And when I got back, I slept on the couch for a little bit. Once I heard Laura was getting up, I went upstairs. We got into that argument, and this was all off camera.
Okay.
Once the cameras come back around, they're like, hey, you're going to have to do this again because we have to show what happened for this to make sense. At that point, my eyes are beet red. I'm frustrated. I'm sitting inside, just not happy about a lot of things. And I honestly wasn't even really paying attention to the fact that I had glasses on at that point. I was frustrated and not wanting to talk about it again. But yeah, that was, hat and sunglasses in the morning. That was a frustrated slip to where I just wasn't paying attention to what I was doing.
I will say, as a frequent glasses wearer myself, I have done that where you don't even really realize you have something on your face. If I'm wearing contacts, I can obviously see. So I think it came across as maybe you're really hungover or trying to hide your facial expressions. So
no, it was literally, it was the second time we were having that argument. I was frustrated, wasn't paying attention. And that's why she was like, can you at least take the glasses off? And I'm like, oh yeah. And I took the glasses off.
We mentioned Hawaiian shirts a little bit before. I don't know if this is a serious question or not, but I'm going to take it seriously. So what is your preferred brand of Hawaiian shirt from Eternally Hungry?
All right. So I don't have a favorite brand, but I have a favorite material, and it has to be this material or I will not wear it. It's got to be rayon. It's like that really silky, soft material. It's cold. It feels good. It fits right. It's got to be rayon, 100%.
I will say, I think I found your Mecca. I went to this little town called Bisbee, Arizona, and I'm probably going to get the name of the shop wrong. I think it's called like Red Boned, Red Devil. It has the name Red in it somewhere. Okay. And it has racks of vintage and new Hawaiian shirts. It's more of a thrift store, but I've never seen so many Hawaiian shirts in one place, except maybe your season.
I'm going to need you to send me that information because it's going
to I will. Absolutely. I'll shoot it over to you.
Cool.
Now, we're going to take a little break from the fan questions to play a game or two. And then if we have time, we will get to more. Okay. As a reminder, everybody, you can submit live questions on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you might be streaming. We are not checking Reddit. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to stream live on there. But hopefully, if you trickled over from there, you can submit here too. So we have your choice of game. You can choose between Would You Rather, Never Have I Ever, and rapid fire first date questions.
Would you rather?
Okay. Would you rather be a hero or a villain?
I'd rather be a villain. I'd rather be a villain. I feel like villains have more fun.
Was your personality on the show a little bit intentionally villain driven, or was it just that's how it ended up coming across?
No, I didn't do that on purpose. Okay. It's just a series of events and how it kind of went down. Okay. I tried to do everything as best I could, and it just kept backfiring.
Okay. Would you rather? Oh, yes. Jeramey for House of Villains season 3. Would love to see it. Have you seen that show?
No, I haven't. I've heard that come up quite a few times now at this point, but yeah.
They just finished season 2, and it is such a fun one. And I will say changes your perception of a lot of the villains. Not everybody, but if you've seen some reality shows, there's Omarosa from The Apprentice. There's Johnny Fairplay from Survivor.
Okay.
Shake from Love is Blind. And it really gives another side, more playful and, not as intense. So if they call you, please do that show because it is so much fun.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely give it some consideration. I've heard that come up quite a few times now at this point.
Okay. Would you rather give up the internet or your pet?
Oh, internet.
Okay.
Yeah, Layla's not going anywhere. That's my girl.
We had Taylor from season 5 on, and she really had to think about that one.
No, my dog. The day something happens to my dog is the day that's gonna be a rough one for me.
I totally understand. I have 3 and a cat and a couple of horses, and it's so hard. I don't know how you would ever give up your pet over the internet.
Wait, you just like glanced over the fact that you said you have horses too. That's not a common one.
Oh yeah. So I grew up riding, and I decided when I turned 30, if I didn't get a pony from my parents at some point in time and was still riding, I was going to get a horse.
Nice.
So unfortunately, my first horse passed away, but then I was given the opportunity to get another horse, and then decided if I had one, I didn't want him to be alone anymore. And so I rescued a couple more.
Yeah.
And now I'm down to 2, or not down to, I will say.
I used to do volunteer work at I don't remember what you call it, an equestrian center that we have around this area.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see how smart those animals really are, and they have each one of those have their own personality.
Yes.
I've almost been kicked a few times, so you learn which ones to watch out for real quick. But yeah.
I have polar opposites. One is like my sweet baby angel old man, and the other one is a little spitfire. And it is so funny because everybody thinks the little one will be the sweet one, and she is my monster. She's very sassy. She's very smart. She can open any gate and any lock, and it is a challenge keeping her where she's supposed to be. Do you ride?
Not as much as I would like to, but yeah, I've been known to ride a few times.
Well, if you're ever in the Arizona area, feel free to come out, and we'll put you on the nice one. We won't put you on Crazy Pony Pants.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, next, would you rather question, would you rather have love or money?
I'd rather have love. I'd rather have love. I've learned in life that you can be very well off, and it doesn't make you any less lonely in a lot of ways. If you don't have somebody to share experiences with, and that could be just relationships, family, whatever other type of relationships you have.
Yeah.
Life's lonely if you don't have any other people to share things with.
Absolutely. Would you rather fulfill your biggest wish or resolve your greatest regret?
I would say I would want to fulfill my biggest wish. Only because I've got so many things that I want to do. Like I can't necessarily say which one of what my biggest wish would be, because I've always got different plans and different things going on in my head that I'm trying to get done all the time.
Do you have a top 3 bucket list?
I mean, yeah, it's so first one would be to open another business. I've got it narrowed down, and there's been a couple of businesses I've been working on before the show. I've got one narrowed down that I'd really like to do. I'm not going to share it yet. I would like to get into some sort of I like charity things. I like as far as work. I told you before, I used to work with an equestrian center. I would like to do that. Maybe not necessarily an equestrian center, but maybe another shelter, something like that. And really, right now, I've just got a lot going on with work too, so I just want to be able to excel at that.
We are eventually coming out with another podcast called the Work in Progress, but the Pupcast as of right now. And we'd love to have you on to talk about Layla and your experiences with other rescue animals, if you're willing.
Oh, for sure. I'll talk about Layla.
And that's all it is. It's just either different influencers, celebrities, reality TV stars just talking about their pets to promote adoption, just because I'm really into animals and we have a lot of fun with that. Yeah. It doesn't fit in with this show, but yes, we will be doing that soon. So I'll reach out to you for that one.
Awesome. I'm all for it.
Would you rather kiss everyone you meet or never kiss anyone again?
Never kiss anybody again.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's
I'm so, and it just goes with my personality. I don't like being touched. I don't like, I don't like things not being clean and stuff like that. And people do some weird stuff. No, I'm good.
Do you know about the love languages?
Yeah. So which one are you talking about?
Yes.
So I know there's the 5 love languages.
Do you have, what would you say is your most preferred one, and then the one that you give to your partner the most?
I think for me, it's for me, what I like and what I like to do for people is acts of service.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I like when. So it's weird because I hate when people do things for me, like because I feel like I owe somebody something back. But at the same time, for somebody to be thoughtful enough to do something unprompted for you means that they're thinking about you. So I hate it because I don't want to have to like feel like I owe somebody something, but I love it because somebody was thinking.
Okay. And then last one of would you rather? Would you rather go back in time to meet your ancestors or travel in the future to meet your descendants?
Ancestors.
Okay. What would you
Yeah.
ask them?
I would just want to know more in general. Yeah, I've got a pretty broad ancestry between Italian, Polish, a little bit of German. I think I've got some Irish in there. Lot of things like that. I would much rather go back and meet my ancestors and learn more about their lives and their history and people they've known and their experiences versus going into the future. I feel like for me, technology and stuff is just going to continue to progress and things are going to be crazier and faster. I like a much more slow paced lifestyle.
Okay. Okay. And then I always like to squeeze in compliments when we get them. So this one is from Takumi VC. You should know that you have so many people who love and support you. So I just wanted to get that out there for you because you do have supporters.
Yeah. No, who said that?
It was Takumi VC on Instagram.
Takumi VC. I appreciate that.
And getting back to some more fan questions, because we do have the time.
Yeah.
Did you and Laura ever talk after the reunion?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so that was probably the first time we had spoke since the Lake Day.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't talk.
This one is from Book Beautiful 1139, who maybe is the one who asked the book comment as well.
Okay.
Do you think going jet skiing right after your conversation with Laura was appropriate timing?
So yes and no. Like the way that was edited is it made it look like, you've got Laura sitting there having her confessional, and then it's got Sarah Ann and I, ripping around on jet skis at the same time. That didn't happen at the same time. It's just kind of together that way. Actually, if you look over Laura's left shoulder as she's having that confessional, you'll see the jet skis parked behind her.
Okay.
So it's not even happening at the same time. Close enough, but anyways, in the was it appropriate? We can say it wasn't, but also at the same time, Sarah and I were getting nothing but flack from people the entire time. We're not being spoken to. We're ostracized. We're outcast at this point. And you know what? If it's just going to be like that, and if people aren't going to even have a conversation, if it's just going to continue to go down that path, whatever. Let's go jet skiing. If nobody else wants to have fun and just wants to sit up in the hot tub and not engage with anything, just sit there and drink, I'd rather get out on the lake. Let's just do that.
Okay. Have any of the other villains from prior seasons reached out to you for words of support or to commiserate?
Who would you classify as villains before I accidentally put my...
Yeah, no. So not that you guys are necessarily actual villains, but people who got a villain edit. So you mentioned Chris. Chris got a post villain edit, I will say. Uche, Shake.
No, I haven't talked to. I mean, Chris and I, we've talked a number of times at this point. I haven't. So I reached out to Chris intentionally when this all started happening because, but before anything ever even came out, because I knew that he kind of got that post edit villain like title, and I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey man, I kind of know this is coming. What do you do? How do you handle things?" And he gave me a lot of really good advice, but other than that, wasn't really a whole lot of other people I was talking to.
Okay. And I have to say, we have spoken to a lot of cast members from various shows. Everybody has been so kind, regardless of the edits that you
Yeah.
guys get, willingness to come on to a little fan show and
Yeah.
chat with us and interact. We are so appreciative. So thank you, to past cast members who have been on, to future cast members who will be
Yeah.
on. So thank you, really, genuinely, because that is, we're always shocked anybody's paying attention to us.
No, honestly, from the get go, you guys have been some of the most communicative, like just most pleasant people to speak with.
Thank you.
And like you stayed on top of it. I know we had a couple of chances to talk before, and I kind of needed
Yeah.
to take a step back because I was
Yes.
having the world kicking me in the head at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you guys have been great, and I would
Thank
recommend
you.
anybody to come on here.
Oh, thank you so much. We're gonna
Yeah.
take that little clip and just send it out to other cast members.
I don't know if anybody else will want to do it because again, I'm like apparently one of the worst villains of all time. But let's see if that works.
I did have conversations with a couple of other cast members who we've never had anybody reach out and say, "Oh, I see you're interviewing so and so. Are
Yeah.
you sure you want to do that?" And that was the first time that happened. And I said, "Why not? Whoever offers, we are happy to have here."
Yeah, I don't get it at this point. Like I get that there's the stuff that happened between Laura and I, and then obviously Sarah and I's story, but like it's a show. It's a show,
Yeah.
and it was an isolated bubble. I've apologized for it multiple times. I don't know what else to do about it at that point. It's not that I don't care about what happened. It's that we're talking about stuff that happened a year ago. At this point in my life, we've all kind
Mhm.
of moved past it. It's kind of important to remember that this is very fresh for anybody who's just now seeing this. This is a year in our past at this point, though. So we've had our own time to process things, and maybe we're not coming across as, you know, empathetic as we should seem to want to come across. But
Mhm.
that's what happens when things happen over time.
Sure. And then prior to, you've obviously taken accountability for how things played out with Sarah.
Mhm.
Did you feel at the time when you were hanging out with her, you were handling the situation correctly?
Oh, I knew I was going to get in trouble for it.
Okay.
I knew I was going to, but and what there was no once I found out that I was going to be meeting her and I did not like how it was all going to be planned out, there was no other time at that point to have that conversation. I think this was on a Friday or Saturday, maybe something like that. And from there, I'm supposed to be filming with my mom the next day, so not going to have time to do it then. And then going back to work the following week, and then right after that, the lake day's coming up. There was no other time to talk about it. What I did think I would get, and this was I still think it could have gone this way. It just didn't. I
Mhm.
knew that I was going to catch heat for that conversation. What I thought I would get was maybe a little more understanding. I understand why I didn't get that kind of understanding because
Okay.
our
Fair
thought
enough.
process was very different towards that. But in my head, I was like, all right, we can squash this. We can move past it. Again, I've looked back at it and like, I understand why somebody was so upset about that. And it just is what it is at this point.
Okay. Now, we had heard from Vince. He went with a couple other cast members, Sarah, obviously, I
Yeah.
think Ben and Sunny as well, to Hawaii. Did you
Mhm.
know that prior to meeting up with her? Did that happen after? What was the timeline like?
No, I knew about that. I knew,
Okay.
I knew, I knew about that when we were. So actually, when I was still in LA filming, somebody there had told me that they'd all because I was like, hey, I wonder how they're all doing. And one of the guys I
Mhm.
was working with was like, oh, they're out in Hawaii right now. They're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I forgot to ask Vince. Everything happens in such a rapid timeline on the show.
Yeah.
He mentioned that he was the one who told you that Sarah was coming to Lost and Found, if you wanted to stay or not. So I just wasn't sure the order everything happened. So thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying that one.
Yeah.
I am going to say I preface this as a fan question, and I do not think that Laura is a mean person in general. I think sometimes in relationships, you don't show your best self, and it's just
Mhm.
not a match meant to be. But imagine 821 wants to know, was Laura as mean to you off camera as she was on camera?
So I won't say she was. It was pretty even across the board. What you kind of see is what you get with her, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all.
Mhm.
But what I will say is, I feel like there was definitely communication lacking off camera.
Okay.
I think majority of the conversation was happening on camera. And it was something that I picked up on. It was something that I was a little more uncomfortable with, but yeah,
Okay.
what you see is what you get, kind of.
And then same Redditor wants to know, why didn't you wait until after the wedding to pursue things with Sarah Ann?
Well, that was so one, I never had an intention to pursue things with Sarah Ann.
Okay.
It kind of that happened after the conversation that we had, and then Laura and I just not speaking to each other anymore at that point. My intentions were Sarah and I are gonna have this conversation. Wasn't planned, but we're gonna do this conversation. I came back, told Laura the next morning what happened. In my mind, I'm like, oh, we'll be able to squash this. Now we can move past it and do whatever else we're going to do from this point on. It just fell apart at that point. So, yeah.
And then along those same lines, and this one is from Sad Girl 7. Would you be comfortable if the shoe was on the other foot with your partner being out until 5 a.m. with one of their recent partners?
I mean, I'm not going to say I would be entirely comfortable with it, but I get the experience. Like, it was a really, if this is happening in our real, like I'm going to say our real lives and not in
Mm-hmm.
this specific scenario, hell no. I'm not going to be okay with something like that. But we all just went through this wild period. It's very short time frames on everything. I happened to run into this person. I didn't seek him out. Yeah, would I have some questions around it, but also cool if you're willing to come back and tell me about it and if we can talk through this. And if you're still wanting to go to the altar after that, you know what? Maybe that's a different conversation. I just I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
just look at things differently in that sense.
Now, I should have asked the context for this one ahead of time. I am going to guess the context because I think this is what makes the most sense.
Okay.
This one is from Mel's. We'll go with. I'm guessing at a lot of these. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your Reddit names. Laura never seemed like a good partner for you. Why didn't you bring this up in the show? Now, I'm guessing they mean to change the narrative and maybe not make it as harsh on you.
Um so what I'll say to that is I never walked in with anything planned before we started filming. Like,
Okay.
I never was walking in like, I need to say this X, Y, and Z thing to try to give myself a better look or give myself a better thing, so I can come out better looking on this side of things.
Okay.
What I have since learned is a lot of people were doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
I never did that. I just came in and was what you saw on camera is me just walking into situations like here you go type of thing. So
Okay.
I never looked at it in that sense. If I could go back on it now, I would say like, hey, maybe I would maybe word some things differently or do things a little different to make myself look better. But at the same time, I was just being myself. So
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. And then last fan question, we'll play one more game. And then
Okay.
I have a couple of questions for you.
All right.
Who do you think got roasted harder at the reunion? You and Sarah Ann or Trevor? And that one is from Potpourri Round.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. I think Sarah and I got it a little bit worse than Trevor. Trevor's was a lot more direct and a lot more like blunt with
Mm-hmm.
what happened there, and he understands why. We all get why. Like it is what it is. But the thing with Sarah Ann and I is we were told by going there we were going to get a chance to speak and we were going to get a chance to clear our name. The minute I walked out on that stage and I saw the questions that were coming and how heated everybody was coming at me, I knew that that was not going to be the case.
Okay.
So you've got the audience involved in it that's, booing and oohing and on. You've got, cast members that are all doing it. And there was some things that were said by some cast members that really did surprise me. I'm not going to call anybody out on anything. I just don't want to do that. But there was a couple of comments that were made towards me to even where I was like, you and I were joking about things in the past. Why are you taking shots at me right now?
Sure.
Sarah was constantly under fire. I came across, and a lot of people called me out for it too, to where like I came across really cold towards her, like, oh, he's not defending her or anything like that. I was more in my natural state at that point, to where like I separate my emotions from a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah is a bit more of an emotional creature.
Yeah.
So she gets way more heated and gets way more, animated about things. Um, did we deserve some of the heat? Sure. Based off of how the show was edited and some things that happened, yeah, I get it. We deserve some heat. To take up like a third of the reunion's time doing that, I think was excessive.
And then did you guys have a choice to go to the reunion, or was
Yeah.
it okay?
Yeah, we all have a choice to go to that, which is why Matt wasn't there. But
Mhm.
yeah, what I was told was, hey, this is going to be your chance to talk, and this is going to be your chance to clear things up, and none of that happened. So
Right.
it is what it is.
All right. Moving on, one more game for you. So we have left Never Have I Ever or Speed Date questions, which is basically things that would be good to ask on a first date if you got 15 minutes.
Uh, let's try the speed date thing, because we're about to find
Okay.
out how little swag. I just said swag. Wow, I'm 32. That was
Well, I think we know exactly how little swag you have from using the word swag, but
that was
they're
bad.
they're completely harmless, I promise. Favorite reality show?
I don't watch reality TV. I've
Okay.
I've never I've never watched reality TV. I'd never even seen Love Is Blind before I went on it.
You didn't? So you had
No.
no clue what you were signing up for.
I knew the concept of the show. I knew I had seen like little blurbs of it here and there, just like in
Mhm.
passing, walking by, but I had never sat down and watched an entire episode of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite podcast? You don't have to, excluding us, obviously.
Favorite podcast. Right now I've been listening to what is it? Two Bears, One Cave, Tom Segura
Okay.
and Bert
And
Kreischer.
Bert Kreischer,
I
yeah.
just I like dumb stuff sometimes.
Okay. Have you
Yeah.
seen either one of them live?
Yeah, I actually just saw Bert Kreischer here in Charlotte a couple months back. I haven't seen. I haven't seen. Wow, I just forgot. It's Tom Segura. I have
Uh-huh.
met and seen Theo Vaughn though, which was pretty cool.
He's pretty awesome. I remember him from I think he was on Road Rules. He was definitely on the
Yep.
challenge days. And then I got to see Christina, Tom Segura's wife,
Yeah.
at a show. She is so funny. If you
Yeah.
ever have a chance to check her out.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're not going to prison, but you do have to choose a last meal. What would it be?
I want a smoked ribeye steak with a nice crisp on it, with a loaded potato and some crispy broccolini.
Okay.
I'm detailed on that.
I think you need to be, because you just
Yeah.
never know. You could end up with a Golden Corral steak, or you can end up with a
Yeah.
Ruth's Chris steak.
Yeah. No, I got to be detailed on that. I'm a big like barbecue guy. I've
Okay.
got the smoker and stuff, so I'm always cooking something up.
Are you a cook?
I can barbecue.
Okay.
I can work a grill. I will not bake. I can make some stuff on the stovetop. That's fine, but I'm good. My thing is grilling.
Do you believe in soulmates?
So when I was younger, I think I did, and I've kind of come to realize this a little bit more as I've gotten older. And this might just be from bad dating experiences and kind of getting beat down over time.
Mhm.
But I don't know right now. I
Okay.
really don't. Obviously Sarah and we have our relationship, and we have a lot of good things going for us there. But to call it a soulmate, I don't know how to define that yet. That's still something that I'm trying to figure out, if I can figure that out.
Okay. Let's go with worst date you've ever been on.
Ooh. There's been so many good ones that were
Good,
not
bad
good.
ones.
Yeah, bad ones. There was one date that I went on to where I am pretty sure I was going to get kidnapped that night or mugged. So I got invited out on a date by someone I met, someone who had reached out to me over Instagram at one point, a while ago. And we started talking. We exchanged numbers, and we had talked for like just a little bit on and off, jokingly. And she invites me out for a drink one night, and I'm like, all right, cool. I remember it was raining that night, and go to pull up to the bar we were going to, and she's like, "Hey, come over to my car." I'm like, "All right, this is weird. Well, why do you want me to do that?" "Well, I want you to have a drink with me first." "I'm not having a drink with you in my car. That's kind of strange, whatever." And then she's like, "Well, I just want to make sure that we're nice and like loosened up before we go inside." And I'm like, something is just off about this whole situation. And I ended up just like, "Hey, no disrespect, not comfortable with this. I'm leaving." And I just remember getting blown up for the next 2 days. And it was like so aggressive in so many ways to where I was like, part of me was just like my internal red flag was going off, like something was not right about that one.
Okay.
So word of advice, if you ever need to follow your instinct, follow your instinct.
I have a strangely similar experience, but the guy, instead of wanting to drink, wanted to show me his gun. And it was completely out of context. It wasn't like we were going to a shooting range or anything like that. He wanted to show me that I would be safe with him.
That's such a weird
by
thing to say to
showing
somebody.
me his gun.
That's such a weird thing to say.
Yeah, and I was in his car, and I thought I was going to have to duck and roll. It was fine.
That is such an uncomfortable situation.
Oh my God. Now I'm 40. I've had a lot of bad dates, some really crazy ones, but talking about getting kidnapped or thinking you're going to die, I did not think I was going to live to see the end of that car ride.
I can understand that. That is interesting.
What is something people would never guess by looking at you?
That's a good question, because I feel like the whole world got a pretty big dose of me really quick.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more. I come across as like this. I got called a nerd or like a dweeb so many times on the show. Like I came across that way, and I get it that like I wear glasses and stuff sometimes. Like whatever. But I'm a lot more outdoorsy, riding motorcycles, going out hunting. Like I have a way more like kind of gruff lifestyle than I think most people think I do. Like big time dirt biking, UTV, and out in the woods. Grew up on airboats, like jet skiing all the time. I don't really care too much about being online. I'd rather be outside doing stuff.
Okay. Now, I'll explain the context of this, but pick a number from 1 to 54.
So I didn't know that you were going to be asking me questions. I only planned on asking you.
Oh, do you have questions for me?
No, you missed.
Yeah, I know. I know. I got you.
Okay.
Matthew, we would love to speak to you. You can ask me questions if you want.
I love Matt to death, but I couldn't resist on that one. Okay, so 19. We'll go with 19.
19. All right, here we go. Now, the context of this is whether you believe in astrology or not, I have these things called spirit animal cards. So I'm going to read you this description, and you tell me if and how it applies to your life right now.
Okay.
Now, you got the spider manifestation. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see it.
So you weave your web in life. What you see before you are the result of your thoughts. If your current reality does not suit you, then it is time to make changes through conscious manifestation. Your energy can bring in all you desire. What does that mean to you, if anything? This is the first time we're doing this, so it might mean nothing.
No, that is actually like eerily close.
Okay.
To like how I look at things. I mentioned earlier that I always pave my own path in a lot of ways. So, you're talking about building your own webs and doing things and changing your energy to get what you want out of things. That is absolutely how I live my life and how I do things in my life that way. I take opinions from people, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to me on what I choose to do. I'm open for constructive criticism. I'm open for good things, but I absolutely believe that if you want a change of scenery, if you want to change a pace, that's up to you in order to put that time and energy into it. That one's just oddly close to how I've been working on things lately.
I'll send you a picture of the card. And just so everybody knows, I do truly have them in stacks so that I pulled the right card number. It's not like that one. Just we didn't talk about it ahead of time. You didn't know I was going to do that.
That was eerie. That was good.
Okay. My 2 questions for you. 1, have you ever borrowed anything from set?
No, I was good about stuff like that. I left it there. And honestly, after I got done with it, I didn't know if I wanted anything. I just wanted to be done.
Okay, understandable. And then this question also came from a Redditor, but I had to ask. New Dad in Nashville wanted to know, do you regret doing this interview at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I've been having a great time.
Me too. I think it's gone pretty well.
No, listen, I get the edit. I get how people come across. I'm not going to win everybody over. I'm not even trying to win anybody over. Like I haven't this whole time. I don't care. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. But if people are open to have good conversations or even have like fun debates on things, I'm all for it. Like, let's do it. It's a good time.
Okay, awesome. Now, is there anything you'd like to promote or share, and where can we find you on social?
So really the only social that I actively use is my Instagram, and it's just Lutinsky J. But no, there's nothing really I want to promote right now. Like I said, I've kind of just been, I'm one of the few people that like, I've started picking up and doing maybe some more podcasts and stuff more recently.
Yeah.
I'm not out there trying to promote a business. I'm not out there trying to, follow me on this so we can, get influencers and other things involved. I don't really care.
Okay. We do care. We have to promote ourselves. That I would be remiss if I did not. So thank you again, Jeramey. If anybody would like to follow us and grace us with your presence on social, we are at LovePod Podcast. We are on all the major and smaller podcast networks. Good Pod, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. You can find us anywhere and everywhere. Please continue to submit questions. Give us a 5-star review if you could. And coming up on the show, we have Julian from season 3 of Love is Blind, who we unfortunately had to reschedule. I am a sick Victorian child and do not always feel up to doing these. We have Taylor from season 5. And then, maybe not so shocking, we have Sarah Ann's going to schedule an interview. We have Chelsea coming up. And we have Sunny also from your season, who did not get a lot of airtime, but sometimes those are the best interviews. Yeah. So thank you again, Jeramey. We are so appreciative of you coming on and being put in the hot seat, and we will see you again soon.
Awesome. I appreciate y'all having me on, and this was fun. I have nothing but support for you guys.
Oh, thank you. All right.
All right. You guys have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Love Pod. We hope you enjoyed our coverage and our interview with Jeramey. I wanted to give you guys some insight into what we have going on next. So not only do we have some unaired cast coming on the show, including Austin, which was a pretty hilarious interview you're going to want to check out, Dion, who we're speaking to shortly, and Sunny. But on April 17th, we're also going to have Amy and Johnny on the show. And that is going to be at 11:30 Eastern time and at 8:30 Pacific time. So they're going to answer your questions live. We've got some games ready for them. And we are so excited for all the cast members coming on in the future episodes. I can't wait to speak to Sunny. It was so great to speak with Dion and Austin. And we have a special guest coming for our Circle recap. So we are recapping the next season of The Circle with season 1's Alex Lake. You may remember he catfished as Adam, and he is a bestie of the pod, one of the OG Pod Squad members. We are thrilled to have him joining us for those recaps. Jordan and I cannot wait. And we're also going to be recapping The GOAT, which is the new reality show with season 1 of Love is Blind's Lauren Speed, and season 1 of The Circle's Joey Sasso, as well as a whole bunch of other reality stars. It's going to be on Amazon Prime, and you're not going to want to miss that one. As well as, of course, once it comes out, I think in August, our recap of Perfect Match. We will be doing weekly episodes and hopefully be speaking with Izzy and a couple of other stars again to talk about their experiences on Perfect Match. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, do all those fun things. Follow us on social. We love you, and we will see you next time.